I feel like you're going to see me just get sweatier and sweatier as this thing goes on because it is so hot here.
Well, that's why I have a fan here.
I don't have that. I'll just start.
Just.
Well, it is All-Stars season yet again, and with me today on a new series on my channel, we have the incomparable, the gorgeous, the iconic Bucy.
Hi! Hi, everybody. It took me 2.5 hours to get ready, but bitch, I'm here.
It took me 2.5 minutes to get ready, and here I am too.
We can see.
What is a good series if we can't just roast each other throughout the entire thing, right?
That is a point. And I think we're gonna bring other guests on, and if they cannot handle being roasted, they should not be in Drag Race.
Don't show up.
Business.
Do not show up.
No. No, girl. Just go back home. Which is what people usually say to me when they meet me in Canada. Just go back home.
So, All-Star 7... It just premiered 2 episodes, an hour and a half, plus Untucked, which I didn't get to, but it's fine.
You didn't watch Untucked?
No, but I didn't see any, huge fights. I didn't see any, Laganja meltdowns on social media, so I feel like I didn't miss anything major.
Well, you're only getting half the story, then.
Well, this video will only give you half of the story of All-Star 7, but... Next week, I'll watch it. It'll be fine. Everything will be fine. But basically, I think we just want to discuss the season, some of our favorite moments, maybe some riggery, and give our takes on what we have all watched, which is honestly one of the greatest viewing experiences I've had in forever. What did you think overall about the 2 episodes?
I loved them because these queens are winners. I mean, not only to focus on monetary things, but they have bank. They can afford to bring us amazing looks, but more than that, they won because they have the personality, the charisma, the uniqueness, the nerve. All of them just brought all of that, and I cannot wait to see how this season just continues to bring out the best in these queens. It was so good. What did you think?
It was literally better than I had hoped. I mean, obviously, when you're thinking about an all-winner season, you think it's going to be to a whole nother level. And, the level of drag, the level of comedy, the level of professionalism, far too much. Far too much.
Too much, just like my waistline. But everything was just so good.
What did you think about the cast? When the cast announcement came out... or when your spoiler video about the cast came out. What did you think?
Spoilers? What? No, I didn't know this was happening at all. This was
until
such a
yesterday.
Secret. Yeah, I just was like, oh, all winners work. I want to make one thing clear. When I made my first spoiler video for All Winners, which was back in 2020, when the rumors first started happening, Bob the drag queen commented on my video saying this is not happening, it's just not. I have a screenshot because that video is now gone because of YouTube monetization. But he was like, oh, this is not happening, it's just never happening.
And look where we are now. So what you're saying is Bob the drag queen is a lying bitch.
Liar.
Confirmed.
Confirmed, official, exposed, the house down.
Well, I feel like the one person I was like, why is she not on this cast, was Bob.
Exactly. And especially because she was so vocal that she wants to do it for years and years now. And I'm like, where is Bob?
Well,
What's
and
happening?
I feel like we somewhat got, a taste of Bob because she's doing the pit stop, which is great. I feel like part of it is, I don't know if we needed to see Monet and Bob compete against each other, because we know what Drag Race does. Whenever you have a friend on, you're going to pit them against each other, whether it be in a lip sync or, whatever it be. And I feel like maybe it is the smarter decision for both of them to go on separate seasons because of that. So, obviously the cast is completely stacked. Who were your favorites going in? if you're gonna put like two queens as like your preseason favorites, who would they have been?
So before the season started, like I love Jinx so much. Like she is, and I'm gonna say it out loud, she is my pick to win. I just love Jinx ever since she was on her original season. I fell in love, and she is definitely one of my favorites. The second queen I'm rooting for is definitely Raja, because I think I kind of relate more to the old school Drag Race because that's when I started watching it. I started watching it during season 6. So in that time I watched every season before it and I just fell in love with those characters. And I think they were so unique because back then they didn't have Drag Race as the reference point. They were their own reference point and they all just brought themselves to the show. They didn't produce themselves. And I really like that. And I'm just so excited to see Raja and Jinx bring it in this season. And those are my two picks. Who are your two picks?
It was tough because, like, I do like everyone on the season. I think I would have picked Evie because, you know me, I love an alt queen. And what she did on season 11 was just like, it felt like she was personally giving to me my favorite kind of drag on that main stage. Like, she's like, this is specifically for Derek. Like, this is for you. And I think my second would be Shay. Because I just feel like Shay has every check marked. Like, she's gorgeous. She has amazing makeup. She has amazing hair. She has amazing costumes. She has so much charisma. She can do basically any challenge. I mean, she didn't really flop anything on All Stars 5. I mean, the hotel challenge was a struggle, but I wouldn't say that was...
That was a weird challenge in itself. So.
I mean, I think that she just has everything it takes to be the winner of all winners, or whatever we're going to call this season. Like, the crowned queen, the legendary queen, the winners, like, whatever it's called. I feel like she would represent it really well.
7.
All-Star 7.
I mean, RuPaul doesn't even know what to call this season, so... Drag Race Superstars. Legendary legends of legendary legends. I don't know. Shea Coulee definitely has it all. Like, she has the comedy, the dance moves. The first lip sync we saw, that was so stupid, and I lived for every second of it.
I saw people on Twitter that were like, sorry, we had Monet, and we're getting ahead of ourselves, but we have to speak about it for a second. They were like, we saw Monet and Shay finally lip sync against each other, and it was to a nursery rhyme. Why didn't you give them an Ariana Grande song or like a Rihanna song? And I was like, okay, but like that lip sync will be remembered because it was different from all of the other lip sync songs we've had. Like, if they just got another Ariana number, okay, cool, they're gonna do their lips, they're gonna do their splits, they're gonna do their tricks, and it'll be like gaggy, but we're all gonna move on. This was something that was completely different, and they both, I think, took real advantage of how different it was, and they were like, if we're gonna do this, like, I'm gonna make it camp, I'm gonna make it funny, I'm gonna do what needs to be done.
Exactly, both of them just brought the camp element, which I love so much in drag, because it shows both of them are gorgeous queens, both of them just bring the fashion, the looks, but then when they can perform and bring the comedy, that's when I fall in love with queens. And the first lip sync song was so wrong that it was so right, in my opinion. I would have never guessed that this would be a lip sync song on any season of Drag Race ever, and I lived for the buffoonery of it all.
I loved it. So they walk into the workroom. Who had your favorite entrance look?
Shea Coulee. I think her entrance look was just the monochromatic realness, and you can see the details. Like, she took contrasting colors where her eyeshadow was blue, but then she put orange stones on it, and like little details like that where you see that she just thinks of those things. And then her walk, her presence, her everything. I just lived for Shea Coulee completely. Who was your favorite?
Mine was probably Shay. I loved the color. Her makeup was like next level. I mean, obviously Shay is a great makeup artist, and we know that, but like,
obviously,
I was still gagged. I was like, Shay did this? This was stunning. She took it the extra mile, and I think she looked amazing. So they enter the workroom. We get the reading challenge. What did you think? Do you agree that Jinx had the best reads for the night?
Yes, I loved Jinx's reads the most because it was just completely Jinx and it seemed like it just came natural to her. Like, whenever you watch Jinx perform or anything, this is what she does, and I think she had the best reads in the room. I loved what Raja did because she was like, I'm not a comedy queen, but I'm just gonna bring it in my own way. And I was like, oh yes, boogers work. Who was your favorite?
Well, and it was a callback.
Yeah.
It was a callback to what she did for her original reading challenge. So I thought it was really smart. I just wanted to highlight the best read, which was Jinx telling Monet. She's like, it's so unfair that everyone compares you to Bob. Bob is talented.
Exactly. She is so quick-witted and so smart with her jokes. I was so obsessed. And the thing was, none of these queens were horrible. There wasn't a queen who just did horribly bad in this challenge, which I kind of miss. Because I love when the comedy fails. Like, a little devil in me is like, oh, I love the horrible comedy as well. Like Pheromone or Utica moment. But obviously no winner season. That's gonna be hard to happen.
So that was something that I wasn't necessarily prepared for, which is no one really gets edited in a bad light. Because normally, I think it really stuck out during Snatch Game, because you would spend half the challenge showing the good parts, and then you would show half the people absolutely flopping and really kind of like driving in, like, these people sucked this week. But it feels like they don't want to make anyone look bad, and I genuinely think this was better. I think this worked better. I mean, I do sometimes like looking at, like, the disasters, but, like, to just focus more on, like, who was doing well instead of, like, spending half the episode or half the challenge, like, tearing the queens down that are doing so bad. I really think it worked.
Same, that's what I loved, the change where everybody got praised for their drag, where they were, like, focusing on the positives. Like, for example, in the Snatch Game, there were some queens that could have been edited to be like, oh, this performance was bad, you're in the bottom. But RuPaul genuinely laughed at every single queen, every single joke. And okay, I'm just gonna say this because I'm not sure if the production was like allowing them to, because many queens actually got the answers that the judges gave and had the same answer. And I'm like, were they allowed to, like, write down the answers in case that they couldn't think of something or stuff like that? But then again, there were queens that just excelled in this challenge, brought it in their own way, and that's what I loved to see in this season.
There was not a rattlesnake in sight.
No. The sound effects is just, like, cut now. And that's one thing that I kind of, now the deliberation music is completely different, and everything was, it kind of felt strange to me. I was like, I wanted the original Shady music back, but I get why they are doing this, but at the same time I'm like, where's the shade?
Because I feel like during the critiques they would say something like, you know, you didn't have the best Snatch Game of the night, but I liked how you did this. It wasn't just insult after insult after insult. It was like, you didn't do the best, but let's highlight the things that you did do right.
Yes, you're not a horrible performer or a horrible person, but your character lacked in this area, but it excelled in this area, which I think would just be so good to say on every season. But again, it's a reality competition, and in regular seasons, they have to get eliminated. They need the drama. They need the people to do bad. So, like, the judges will just focus on negative things and not mention positive. And in this season, because nobody is eliminated, there is no reason for the judges to try to pick at negative things. They just focus on the positivity. And I think that's a very nice change that we are finally seeing on Drag Race.
So, what did you think about the format? Because obviously this is something we've never seen. No one goes home until the top 4. We're going to cut from 8 to 4. And it's really just about the journey there and how many badges you can snag on the way there.
I love that because now everybody gets the chance to show off the fashions they invested in. Like, that's one thing where I see queens, for example, in season 14, Alyssa Hunter and June Jambalaya being cut that early and not getting to show any of the amazing things they brought. that was homophobic. That was not right. And I love this because everybody will just. And sometimes you get a bad week, you are not the best actor, but you're great at dancing, for example. And then everybody will get a challenge where they will excel or do well in. So I'm excited about that, where everybody will get to show what they are good at, and everybody will get to show the versatility of their talent the entire season. Do you like the new format?
I do. I think that there was the potential for it to kind of lead for some dull moments, like where no one's going home every week. Obviously, people hated that on season 14, but I think having the golden plunger, which is camp, which is so camp.
It's platinum, which is not platinum at all. In what universe, girl? In what universe?
I think it's funny. I think having that twist really makes for the drama factor, and that is what I think really makes it all work, and I'm completely fine with it. I like it, and I think it's going to allow for winners that maybe didn't come back this time to come back when they do this again, because we know they're going to do this again. So why don't we talk about the episode 1 challenge? It's the girl groups. They do a song called Legends. What did you think about just the song in general? Was it a top tier drag song, or was it forgettable?
I'm gonna be honest, I didn't like the song at all. I was like, this doesn't have the beat that like memorable drag music does, and none of the verses seemed. I don't remember any of the verses right now. I remember the queen's looks, and in all of that performance, all of them were from different groups. Like, none of them had a look that would go together for one number. They were all clashing. They were all from different periods. Like, I liked Trinity's look. I liked Shea Coulee's look. And I think that's it. Other looks were just like, what is this? I just wasn't living for this song in general. And that's my honest opinion. How did you feel about it?
I already forgot how the song goes. Like, if you told me to sing it, I would have no idea. I would be like...
And before we started filming this, I rewatched episode 1 and I don't remember it at all. Like, an hour ago.
No, I watched the performance again. I had no idea what it was. So, for me, the thing I think is the most important in these types of challenges is the lyrics. Because at the end of the day, you can watch the episode and you move on. But if you download the song, you're going to be singing it in the car. You're going to be singing it on your jog, and those like verses that just like hit, like Anita Wiggle It in Queens Down Under, like Art Simone. I don't know why I'm thinking of the Drag Race Down Under ones, but like there's certain verses that like you just always remember, and those are the things that last longer than the episode itself.
Exactly.
And for me, Jinx had an amazing verse. I think it was so good. Shay had an amazing verse.
Jada.
And I think Jada.
Yes.
Those were my 3.
I agree. And I liked Monet's lyrics, but then again, for some reason, while Jinx was performing it, I just didn't feel the energy for some reason. I don't know, something wasn't adding up for me in that performance. And here I am in my Fashion Nova dress judging the winners of Drag Race. Like, I need to calm down.
I got this t-shirt from Marshall's. Let's just make that clear.
We're not like bringing anybody down, but like comparatively, comparing it to like Read You, Wrote You, and like anthems like Kitty Girl that we just all these years later we remember and we know, I don't think this will be remembered. It was just meh.
Well, and I feel like we're at a point now where the queens come in with lyrics written.
Yes.
Right? They have lines and lines and lines that they'll just make fit whatever the song is. So I do feel like the lyrics should be getting better over time. You know what I mean? Because, like, when they were given Read You, Wrote You, they were told about that challenge the night before Tatiana went home in her T-Boz look. So they only had, like, a week and a half to get a full lyric right. Yeah. And that was a full verse. That wasn't, like, the mini verses we get now with, like, the 4 lines. Whereas, like, now, you know it's coming.
Yeah.
You can have an entire 4 songs written worth of lyrics to come in and say, all right, I have one for this 5. I have lyrics for this 5. So I feel like the lyrics should be getting better, and I feel like a lot of them were a little bit just like, we've heard it.
And especially for the winter season, I think we will just have expectations that are right here, and this song was just like here.
Especially because a lot of them are musicians.
Yeah.
I mean, I think every single one of them has put out music, except maybe...
No, Evie has.
No, I can't even think of... They've all put out music.
Jada is, I think, the only one that didn't do.
Oh, yeah, no, Jada hasn't put out music.
Yeah.
But she had good verses on season 12.
Yeah, she had the good verse, and she won the first challenge on season 12 that was this, where she created her own lyrics. And I love that Jada had us. That's why Jada's verse was my favorite, because she made fun of the fact that she's not a singer, and I loved that.
The challenge was not the highlight of this episode.
Exactly.
And that's okay, because there was plenty of other things in this episode that entertained me that I did not mind. That it was like a whatever. Like, it was fine. It wasn't bad. It just wasn't the greatest thing I've ever seen.
And let's mention Raven walking into the workroom. The gag.
Wearing Nikki Doll couture.
Her Nikki Doll realness. She wants to take over Drag Race France. But I would love to see Raven back. I don't think that will ever happen because obviously she's RuPaul's makeup artist. Like, how would RuPaul look on that season? But
we know exactly how RuPaul will look on that season, and I'll put the photo right here.
We saw it already, and we don't need to see it ever again. But like, just the nerve of them being like, Raven, do you want to do a bit where you just walk into the winner's season and you're like, I feel like a winner. I lived for that, and that's why I think I love this episode, because none of them just took this seriously. None of them are there. Like, I don't think we saw any confessional of being like, I'm gonna snatch the crown, I'm just gonna bring everybody else down, I'm gonna be the best one. There were queens who were like, yes, I'm ready to win, blah blah, but it wasn't like that competitive, harsh spirit, which I preferred. It was just very light and fun. It was fun.
Let's move on to the runway. The category was Crowned Queen. This runway was so good. It was amazing. The level of drag on that runway was one of the greatest things I've ever seen in my life.
It was so good. Everybody just stepped it up. And like, even the Evie Oddly being like crayon, with I cannot do that accent. I'm an immigrant. But I'm like, that's actually so smart and something I would have never thought of. And then queens like Jinx just coming in, like comparing Jinx's fashions that we saw last time to this, it was so good. And Shea Coulee with her prosthetics, Trinity with her train, it was just chef's kiss.
So, what were your top three? Like, what three looks are you going to wake up in the morning and think about fondly?
Well, my top three is definitely Shea Coulee. I loved the prosthetics, I loved the hair, I loved the story she was telling with her garment, and Shea is really good with not just wearing the fashion, but telling a story with her looks. Then I loved Jinx, because this was just a step up, and her crown and her everything was so elegant, but then still had a touch of Jinx with that slip. I lived. And then definitely Trinity the tuck. Like, where did she pack that? Like, how heavy was that? How hot was it to wear that? I cannot even imagine, because that's velvet, and a lot of it it just looked rich, and I lived.
I have Raja, who I feel like took her Marie Antoinette look from season 3 and was like, how do I make that even another step above what it already was? It was so cool. The hair, her just like walk on the runway, like she knows she is that bitch. Like, nobody needs to tell her. And I just thought it was so good. Monet's, I thought the hair was amazing. I loved the colors. I loved the little the cage, like the pocket size that were like cutouts. Yes, I thought it was so good. And I think my third would be, actually, I am gonna say Trinity. I think Trinity's was like so beyond what we've seen before. I mean, it took up the entire stage. It was literally like moving art, and it was amazing. So the runways were incredible. The challenge was meh. The judging, it was a little bit different this time, because they all get judged, but it's really just like positive comments. Like, they really didn't read anyone. but they did pick a top 4 when they went to the deliberations. So their top 4 was Monet, Shay, Trinity, and Evie Oddly. Do you agree with this, or is there some riggery afoot?
I don't know if if it is riggery, because I agree with the top 2. Maybe I would put Trinity in the top 2 as well, just because of her runway and how good it was. But I don't know who I would take out of that top 2 then, because both Shay and Monet were just so good. Maybe because Evie was the one that got kind of one negative critique about her wig being very bad. But then again, I don't like. I loved Raja as well in this challenge. I loved Jada on the runway and in the challenge. So I have no idea. I don't think it was rigged. I think Shay deserved the ultimate win. But overall, I just think they all did well. I would agree with that top 4. What do you think? Was it rigged? You're the king of riggery.
I think the fact that Trinity didn't know her lyrics
Oh yeah, that happened.
was a big thing. That was a big thing. And the fact that they were kind of the fact that they were 2 hour-and-a-half long episodes. There was a lot to take in. But they kind of hand waved it, and I was like, because Jada did incredible, Jinx did incredible, Raja did incredible, and I was like, you didn't have those kind of mistakes in their performances. So I think that Trinity could have been knocked down to safe.
I now agree, because I completely forgot that happened. I just remembered Trinity's look in the performance and look on the runway, and I'm like, okay.
Which was amazing.
Both of them were just stunning, but yeah, she didn't know the lyrics, and okay, yeah, she shouldn't be in the top 4 then. Just for this.
She doesn't know the words.
Put it back
It's
on.
a 9-word chorus. We have our top 2 of Shay and Monet, and they lip sync to Old MacDonald Had a Motherfucking Farm.
That was so stupid, and I love it.
You should lip sync to that song. You should do that number. I feel like you would kill it.
Doot, doot. All the songs that can be like those little wink wink moments with my breastplate that I invested in, I love it so much. I mean, we talked about lip sync, but I just live for the stupidity and for both of them just bringing the camp element, doing a little bit of like cluck cluck here, cluck cluck there. It was phenomenal in my opinion.
It was so good. But I want to know what you think. Do you think that Monet threw it? Because in the second episode, she does say, like, I wasn't trying to be a threat this early on. I didn't need to block anyone off the bat. So do you think she threw it?
That could be a possibility. And because we saw Monet strategize in the workroom, she was like coming to people, creating alliances, which is very smart in this competition, especially because usually in All Stars, those queens will send you home, but this time these queens can stand between you and your win, depending on how many points you get. So if you have alliance with them, then it's just smart to just lay low, be in the top 2 as much as you can, but never have to choose who. Like, that's how Trixie won All Stars 3, basically.
If you can avoid being blocked, that is really the way to the crown. If you can avoid, it's like on Big Brother. Like, if you can avoid being put on the block, you're golden. You're safe. You're fine. So you just have to strategize on how to make that one thing not happen, and you're going to be fine. And Monet is really the one that I think is taking advantage of this. And I think it's going to work out for her, because you have Jinx out here literally telling people her strategy. Like, I'm just going to send the bitch that was in the top last week, and I'm going to block them. And it's like, okay, well, that's how you get blocked, Jinx.
Well, exactly. For example, if this week Shay was again in the top, she would then probably just block Jinx, because she knows, like, this bitch is gonna block me. And she did. And it's just, you don't tell your strategy to your competitors. That's how people lose Survivor. You just stay shut. We saw in season 42 Drea telling one person about her advantage, and it sent her home. So we just know, keep your mouth shut, don't say anything to anybody, and just play the game.
I'm not over Drea going home.
Same.
So, but like I don't know spoilers of like who's getting blocked when or any of that. I would bet money that Jinx gets blocked in episode 3.
It would make sense. It would make sense. Like, I know I'm the spoiler queen, but, like, hand to my heart, hand to my boob.
Hand to your breastplate.
My AliExpress breastplate. I have no idea who's getting blocked when, but I would assume they have to block Jinx at some point. It would just make sense. I don't know, like, next week we obviously know it's gonna be a ball and a look challenge. So, obviously, blocking Shea Coulee was a smart move. But then after that, it could very well be comedy, acting challenge, something in that realm. So, who are you else gonna block other than Jinx? It would just make perfect sense.
I wish they got to know what the next challenge was. Because then that adds a whole nother layer of strategy. Because, let's say, hypothetically, Jinx is a terrible sewer. If you were to block Jinx, not knowing the challenge... well, she's not going to win that one anyway.
Exactly.
And then you just kind of wasted that, like, power. So I wish that RuPaul had, like, Bruno, come out with my pink furry box and open the box, and it reveals what the next challenge is. And then they say, okay, Jinx, who are you gonna block now? And you could say, okay, well, based on the fact that it's a ball, Raja's chopped. Like, grass is grass.
Yeah. And it makes sense. Like, it worked for Shea Coulee for episode 2, but she had no idea that we are going to get Snatch Game and Trinity is going to do that well. It would make it, I think, for a better strategic and maybe add more drama.
So, we talked a lot about episode 1. Trinity gets blocked. And she takes it pretty well. She doesn't pop off.
Trinity could be a perfect ally for you. Both of you were on the same season originally. You worked together for years. It just makes sense to align with Trinity other than not to make the enemy from Trinity. Like, they should listen to Monet Exchange. That bitch watches Big Brother and Survivor. She knows what she's doing.
Exactly. So I wonder if... because let's say... she blocks Trinity, and episode 2 isn't Snatch Game, and Trinity was safe regardless. It doesn't really matter. But I think because Trinity lost out on a Legend Star here, that is something she's not going to forget. And now she can easily just block Shea and not really need to have an explanation. You know what I mean? She can just say, well, you blocked me, I'm blocking you. We can move on and there's no tea.
And it's an easy way now for Shea to be blocked, which is, again, a great strategy of Monet, what she was saying, that she didn't want to win the first challenge, because immediately you make a big target out of yourself with whoever you pick. So
episode 2, it's Snatch Game. They have to do 2 characters. Oh my god, that is so crazy. That's a ballsy move for production to do. Because not many queens can do 1 great character, but to pull out 2?
That was a choice. But I think it was just a way to make sure that everybody will do well at some point of the challenge. Because, for example, I'm going to take Evie Oddly. Like, her first character was not memorable. I don't even remember what was her first character, to be honest.
Rico Nasty.
Oh, yeah, Rico Nasty. For me, just, it went over my head. But the second character, the Boogeyman, she really redeemed herself. And now we can forget about her fail of season 11 Snatch Game and just move on. And while some queens then, like Jinx, got the chance to show us double their talent in Snatch Game and how well they do in those improv challenges, which is also great for them. And like Raja came out of nowhere and surprised me with how well she did with both of her characters. And that's why I was so upset that this episode wasn't a top 3, because I was like, there is a clear top 3 here, and I just want all of them to have that star because they did so well.
I agree. I think that it's crazy, but the top 4, which was Jinx and Monet and Raja and Trinity, all 4 of them knocked both their characters out of the park.
Exactly.
Like, the Vivian, I think, was fine on both. Like, neither were bad. It's just neither of them really stood out.
It wasn't her
Jada, I think her prince worked, but her Lady Chablis did not work.
Like, I don't remember her jokes at all, so that's kind of my standard. Like, do I remember what was funny about your Snatch Game? Especially now where they have to do 2 characters, so I now have to remember double the jokes. Like, I clearly can see Monet as Mike Tyson. I can clearly see Raja as Madam, and I can see, like, Jinx in both characters just killing it. And Trinity, like, her Satan...
She devil by night. She came through.
I don't know if that was on purpose, but that was just...
That had to be on purpose.
I think she knew people were going to talk about that and then talk about her. And then her Leslie Jordan was also just perfection, in my opinion. I remember it so well, so I'm like, the queens I remember are the ones that just did well.
And I think that's something really interesting, because I was honestly surprised that they did cast Trinity just because she had been under so much scrutiny by the fan base. Mm-hmm. Whether the She Devil by Night shit is real or not, we won't know. But she's had her own stuff on Twitter, and whether or not how you feel about her, she came in and she said, I'm going to use all of this to my advantage. I'm going to be the devil. I'm going to be a gay-ass devil. And I'm going to make an entire joke out of this controversy. And I thought it was so smart. And maybe because we weren't wasting time showing over and over again how bad people were, I think this was the best Snatch Game ever. If you had to pick 3 performances to be your favorites, who would they have been?
Oh, well, Jinx's Judy Garland... number 1, no question about it. That was just perfection. Trinity's Satan was so wrong that it was so right. And then the third one is a toss-up for me between Raja's Diana Vreeland and Trinity's Leslie Jordan. I think I preferred Leslie Jordan, to be honest. So Trinity gets 2 spots in my performances. What about you?
I think Judy is the number 1 standout. Like, that is the winner. I would have picked Leslie Jordan, and I think I would pick Madam. I think Raja's Madam was so funny because she had the physical comedy of the braces. She had the makeup. She had the funny jokes. I mean, that Summer Diamonds joke, like, that is Madam. Like, I'm sure that's something Madam actually said, because that is just, like, so Madam. I think she really had all 3 aspects of what makes a good Snatch Game. The makeup, transformation, the physical comedy, and the jokes.
Yeah, and that's why it's just hard to pick the top 3, because all of them were
so many people. I mean, Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson is so far up there for me, too. For me as well, like, Monet's Mike Tyson was also one of those performances. I'm like, this is so wrong on the Snatch Game, but it's just so right and so good. So the runway category is the pleather principle, which is how Mike Tyson says the pleasure principle. And I actually think that this runway was better than the other one, which was, like, already an incredible runway. I think that the way that every queen did something different, and everything that they did really showed their unique drag style and perspective. I think that's what makes for the best runways, when you have a pretty broad category and everyone interprets it completely differently.
Yeah, everybody brings their own drag style to it. But I will say one thing, many of those looks were vinyl or latex. Like, I was like, some of that is not pleather, girl. But I, again, don't...
Jinx was not wearing pleather.
That was not pleather, and neither was, I think, Trinity and Evie. I wasn't really... Like, Evie had pleather moments on her, but I'm like, some of that is just vinyl. It's just... It is what it is.
So, who were your top 3 from this runway?
From the pleather runway, I would say... I really liked Raja's look. It was very punk rock. I really enjoyed what Raja brought. I really liked the Vivienne's look. It was very monochromatic, very Gaga, maybe seen before, but I just loved how she styled it. I loved how she presented it on the runway. It was definitely one of my favorites. I would wear that if I could fit into it, but I just loved how she presented it on the runway. And my favorite look was Monet Exchange, because it's chocolate. That was chocolate. at its finest, and it was leather. It just fit her so well. It looked so nice, and I just loved it. What were your three favorite looks?
I would say my three favorites are Raja, because Raja just has like this styling that she does. Like she puts things together that I don't think many people would think to put together. Like this red jacket with this snakeskin blue turquoise dress.
Exactly.
But
yeah.
it worked. It worked. And it was just so Raja. I also would say probably Jada. I was gonna say Trinity, but I don't want to get red. I would say Jada. Her like matrixy look. I think she looked so hot.
So hot.
And literally, I would also have to say Monet. I mean, Monet just her body looked so right. It looked so good. You could tell it was pleather. There was no question what the fabric was. And yeah, I just think she knocked it out of the park. So our top four is Jinx and Trinity, and then Monet and Raja. Did you agree with this?
100%. Like those four were the best in the Snatch Game. On the runway, they brought it. It was just perfect for me.
Yeah, I think it was very clear who that top four was. And I think it was pretty clear who the top two was. I think that Raja and Trinity they were really neck and neck.
Yeah.
We didn't see enough of the Diana Vreeland to, I think, really be able to tell, because we got a lot of Trinity. We saw Trinity a lot. And I'm not sure if they didn't show Raja because she wasn't going to win, or if they didn't show Raja because she just didn't have as many jokes as that character. Yeah. But we have our top two of Jinx and Trinity, and they lip sync to Rumor Has It by Adele. This has been a controversial moment. Who do you think won this lip sync?
Well, even though I am Team Jinx, I don't think she won that lip sync. In my opinion, I don't know. I don't know if that song was just very meh to begin with for a lip sync performance. Like, imagine if they gave Jinx the first song, The Old MacDonald Had a Farm. Like, that would be camp. But now, Rumor Has It, I don't know. Trinity for me just brought the comedy, brought the moves. Some people say she was doing too much, but I didn't see that. Like, for me, she was doing enough. And in my personal opinion, Trinity won that lip sync. What do you think?
I agree. I think Trinity won. She just had more of those. The thing that I love in a lip sync performance is when you can find those little moments in the song and do something with it. And Trinity found every single little moment in the instrumentation, in the beat, and she did something at every single moment of that.
Exactly.
And I felt like Jinx could have done more. Like, because it was more of like a lower tempo song, you either have to camp it up or you have to play it straight. And I felt like Jinx didn't do either. She kind of was doing both, but didn't commit to either one. Whereas Trinity was like, we're camping this up. We're having fun. We're like doing all the tricks, but we're also like having little fun moments. So I thought Trinity won. But I understand why they gave it to Jinx. Obviously,
if we
it's Jinx
look at
Monsoon.
the Snatch Game, Jinx won the Snatch Game. There is no question. Jinx
1000%.
won this challenge, this episode. But like, if it wasn't like the top two lip sync, Jinx would be the winner of the challenge. Like you said, Trinity just hit every single thing. Like from the beginning, when she was like, she's not real, showing at her ass, I was like, okay, this is camp. I live for it. And all of those like little piano moves. And Jinx had a few moments where she would like kick her leg in the right drum beat and stuff like that. But Trinity just for me brought more camp.
Overall, what are your final thoughts on these first two episodes? Were your expectations met? Were they exceeded?
Well, my expectations were high to begin with because this is an all-winner season. So they definitely were met, and some of them were excelled. Like, for example, for Snatch Game, my expectations for Jinx were here, and she still like brought it way up there, and that's why I just love this. Like, I wasn't sure because, well, I knew the format and the spoilers before this was airing, so I wasn't sure if the format was going to work that well. I was like, okay, will this be more dull or how will this turn out? But my expectations were just not only met, but they just went beyond, because everybody just brought it, and you can see that people are not stressed about going home, about who is gonna eliminate them, are they gonna pull their lipstick and stuff like that. All of that drama is eliminated. There is no crying in Untucked, other than for happy things and emotional traumas that we all face. But there is just none of that cutthroat competition, and I actually really love that. And that's why I think this season is just gonna excel. And what do you think? Do you like the new format? Do you like the season?
I had high expectations, but I will say, UK versus the world lowered my expectations. Only because they were filmed really close together, and I wasn't sure, doing an all winners, but doing it on Paramount Plus. And honestly, whatever shifted when they made the shift to All Stars to Paramount Plus, All Star 6 was, in my opinion, the best All Star season. And this is turning out to be one of the best. And we might see it surpass even All Stars 2 and All Star 6 if it continues to be at the level it's at right now. Because this is top level of drag. This is top level of entertainment. The queens feel like they were prepared. They're ready to do this thing. They're not phoning it in. Nobody's phoning it in. And it feels like even the judges, Michelle is having so much fun. Ross is having so much fun. Rue is having so much fun. Everyone is just excited to celebrate this group of queens. And I think because of that energy on set, it is translating really well to our television. And I think, obviously, Snatch Game had a 9.7, I think, on IMDb rating.
9.7?
People are living.
Ooh, where? I didn't check the IMDb.
Or 9.6 maybe. It was really high.
And it makes sense.
So people are loving it.
Yeah, because everybody's just celebrating drag and celebrating these performers, the best of the best. And it's just so nice not to have to focus on all the drama, not to have to focus on all the buffoonery, the riggery. I'm interested to see if there will be a lot of riggery, because technically with this format, it will be easy for production to push people to top 2 and give them more stars, or I don't know if it is kind of unpredictable about blockings, but they could easily push their favorites to get more stars, and I just hope that doesn't happen. I want it to be fair, but we will see what the next few episodes bring.
Well, I think that is the perfect segue to one of our little bits on this series, which is it rigged? So, if you could pick one moment that you think was rigged from these first 2 episodes, what would it have been?
Well, Jinx winning over Trinity in the lip sync. For me, that was just the most obvious thing where I didn't agree with the decision. I'm not mad about it. I don't really. Jinx did so fabulously in the Snatch Game that yes, she does deserve to be the winner of that episode. But in that particular lip sync, I think that was just the rigged moment. What do you think was the most rigged moment?
In my humble, as you can see, no drag knowledge, no an ass, I think that the rigged moment was Trinity being put in the top for the Legend Challenge.
Okay, that makes sense.
I think that they definitely wanted to highlight her because she is just one of the most entertaining queens. She's one of the most, ones they can rely on for the drama, they can rely on for the sound bits, and they want her to be around. Well, I guess they're all going to be around. They want her to succeed and be there in that finale. I think that they definitely were like, oh no, Trinity, maybe she didn't know a single word of her entire performance, but she looked gorgeous, gal. I don't know. That to me, it's like the Alyssa thing, where it's like, but it's okay, you're Alyssa. And it's like, well, is it okay? No. Not when you have queens like Jinx, who I think did an amazing job, and Jada, who did an amazing job. So that would be the one moment that I would call out that I was like, But even then, that's not a big thing. It really doesn't matter. Yeah, no, I was very surprised that it was everything seemed pretty fair.
And will they continue?
You'll just have to tune in with us every week to find out.
And for your final Riggory of All Stars 7 video, where it's just gonna be...
she is coming. We have the content pumping out, and all I have to say is after this season, I'm going home.
Where did you get that?
It was a birthday gift.
That is so amazing.
It's nice to have. Maybe I'll send you one. I'll get one and send it to you so we can send each other home every week. If you got eliminated on Drag Race, would you give a shady message, or would you give you're all incredible, legendary queens. Believe in yourself?
I would be shady. I would be shady boots. Definitely. It would just be like, all you whores are horrible. I hope Brooklyn Heights breaks her legs tomorrow. I don't know. But, yeah.
I would just say, it's rigged, period, and walk out.
The Riggory of Canada's Drag Race. Actually, that's a great entrance line. I could say immigration got me or something like that.
Immigration got me, gal. You could just walk in and say, if I don't win, it was rigged.
Exactly. I have the evidence. I have the detective on my side.
Exactly. And guess what? My video will just be... It won't be called The Riggory of Canada's Drag Race 5. It'll be... Here's why Bucy should have won Canada's Drag Race 5.
After being eliminated first.
After being an alternate.
After not even making the cut.
After they didn't even watch your video. Here's why she should have won.
She has the biggest breastplate. These feel so...
That is exactly why you should have won. Well, thank you so much for being here with me. I'm excited to talk to you every week of All-Star 7. Yes. We have a long road ahead of us, 12 episodes this season, and I cannot wait to roast you for the next 10 weeks.
Oh, I'm gonna be ready with the reads for whatever you are serving. I mean, even Carson Kressley wouldn't be able to give you a compliment on this.
We will see you all in the next week. Hopefully, All-Star 7 continues to deliver, and if not, they will be getting a very finely written video after the season's over.
Finely written.
They will be getting a scripted the night before video very quickly. Come for the talent, stay for the boobs.
Exactly. Who's the talent?
And with that, we will see you all in the next one. Bye. Bye.